Okay, so here's what we're up to. We're up to Perek Mem Gimel Pasuk Ches. Perek Mem Gimel Pasuk Ches. Yaakov, from the beginning of the Perek till here, we have Yaakov realizing that they have to go back to Mitzrayim to get food again. And once again, the brothers tell him you have to send Binyamin. And once again, Yaakov is reluctant or more. So it's sort of a replay of what happened in the Perek Mem Beis, which is significant, as we shall see. And tonight we're going to learn psukim Ches through Yud. Vayeme Yehuda el Yisrael aviv. Yehuda speaks to Yisrael, his father. That's what happens in the next three psukim. Ches, Tes, and Yud is Yehuda speaking to his father. In Pasuk Ches, he tells him what to do, what he thinks he should do. In Pasuk Tes, he responds to the problem of Yaakov's concern about the safety of Binyamin. And Pasuk Yud, he adds a kind of exhortation to convince him to close the deal. Okay, so let's read these psukim inside. Shilcha. So he says to Yisrael, his father, Shilcha. So a reminder, we discussed this numerous times, that hey at the end of the word makes it into what's called the exhortative tense, which means he's not commanding him to send. He's saying, he's encouraging him. It's like we have further in this pasuk, V'nakuma v'neilecha. It's like we'll get up and go. It's not predicting that we're going to do something. It's that way we'll energetically, and we'll be committed to going. So Shilcha is saying, set yourself to that idea. It's an encouragement to do it. Hanar iti. So he's telling him, send the nar with me. Yaakov was afraid to send b'ni imochem, and Yehuda comes with an idea. Send him with me. V'nakuma v'neilecha, v'nichye v'loy namos. Now these words, v'nichye v'loy namos, these pick up on the beginning of this saga of going down to Mitzrayim for grain. That's in the beginning of Perek Mem Beis, Pasuk Beis, where Yaakov tells the brothers, go down to Mitzrayim, v'nichye v'loy namos. So Yehuda is echoing Yaakov's very concern, and he's amplifying it by saying, Gam anachnu, gam ato, gam tapenu, now things are really dire, we're all going to die. Now, if we contrast Yehuda to Reuven, and this is not new, this business of contrasting Yehuda to Reuven, you remember, happens in Parashas Vayeshev, where Reuven has one approach to dissuading the brothers from their nefarious plans vis-a-vis Yosef, and Yehuda has a better approach. Similarly, in Parashas Miketz, Reuven attempted to convince his father to allow Binyamin to descend with them, and Yehuda actually achieved that. And the difference is, we look at the differences, Reuven said to Yaakov right away, Eshnei bonai Thomas im loy avienu elecha, send him with me, give him to me. And Yehuda first said, give him to me, and then gave him the guarantee. And besides for the fact that Yehuda gave him a guarantee, Reuven, after he said, after he gave him the idea, send him with me, he also gave a guarantee of responsibility, while Reuven said, kill my two sons. So in other words, Reuven is basically dismissive of the whole concern. By Reuven saying, kill my two sons, it's like he's saying, nothing is going to happen, stop hacking at China, everything's going to be fine. Right? So it's like saying, everything's going to be fine, ad kedei kach, that I'm willing to tell you, Shnei Bonai Thomas, and therefore give him to me. So he's not taking Yaakov's concern seriously. He's saying there's nothing to worry about. Mashik and Yehuda. What?
Or like you said in the past, I'll take on some of the.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But you're right.
But I think the point is Yehuda's being persuasive. You look at the tenor of the speech. Yehuda gives actually a persuasive speech, right? And Reuven does not, which is exactly very similar to what we have in Vayeshev, where Reuven says Al tishbu dam, and he achieves something over there. But as we discussed, he only achieves a limited accomplishment, right? Because they're still going to kill Yosef. Okay, as we discussed then. While Yehuda convinces them, and as the pasuk says, "Vayishmu echav." So likewise, Yehuda over here actually makes a persuasive speech. He starts by saying an idea that although you don't trust us as a collective, you can trust me as an individual. And to buttress this offer, he then says, "I'm taking responsibility. I'm guaranteeing him, etc." Okay. And of course, this is Yehuda as the leader of all of them, because even if you don't trust us collectively, you can trust me because I'm the leader and I can make decisions. So in other words, the very fact that Yehuda is speaking up over here and acting as the leader also is what it also gives support to the idea that he can be trusted individually, even more than the brothers, or even perhaps in contradiction to the brothers who might have other designs on Binyamin, right? If Yaakov didn't trust him about Binyamin, but Yehuda says, you can trust me because I'm the leader and I can make things happen that they can't, or even that they might oppose. Okay, so that's Pasuk Aleph. So Shulchan Aruch, that's Pasuk Tes. Shulchan Aruch iti, send him with me. I'm going to take personal responsibility. And then the personal responsibility gets specific. The specifics of that come in Pasuk Yud, Tes, where he says, Anochi Erevenu, I am his guarantor. And then he says three more things. Miyadi Tavakshenu. So he doesn't just say I'm his guarantor. He says you can demand him from my hand. So what does that add? The first question we have to ask is, what does that add to saying I'm the guarantor? And then he continues, says two more things. He says, I'm going to bring him back to you. And I'm going to present him to you. Right? Then, those are the consequences. Okay, so let's first talk about that. So, Anochi Erevenu Miyadi Tavakshenu. So, Miyadi Tavakshenu is an explanation. What is my guarantee? My guarantee is that Miyadi Tavakshenu. We'll explain exactly what that means in a moment. Let's talk about the last four words in the pasuk. So, what is he offering him? He's telling him, if I don't do it, then I'll be forever in chait. What is that? How does that support? How is that an offer? What is the offer there that makes the guarantee robust? Okay, so I would say one way to read it is to say like this: is a way of saying there will be no excuses, no apologies. I will never be able to, won't be able to explain it away and say mitigating circumstances. There are no circumstances in which it wouldn't be considered my responsibility. Okay, so in other words, if I say I guarantee something, okay, I guarantee something. What if you don't do it? So I broke my guarantee, but maybe not. Maybe we could talk about it. Maybe the guarantee wasn't meant in such extenuating circumstances. By saying he's saying there's nothing to talk about. It's final. My guarantee is absolute. Okay, one way to read it, I think, is a legitimate way to read it. Now, if we look at it, was the guarantee absolute? It's fascinating because actually I think it wasn't absolute. Because if you look at Parashat Vayigash, something very strange in this week's Parashat Vayigash. At the end of Yehuda's impassioned speech, in the end of Parak Dalid, Yehuda says, we'll look at the last three psukim of Parak Dalid, and something very strange happens over there. Because Yehuda concludes his speech to Yosef. Pasuk Lam Beis, he says, Ki avdecha orav esanar me'im avi leimar, imloi, and there's a quote from our Pasuk, imloi avi enu elech v'chatasi lavi kol hayamim. Okay, so he's explaining, why am I speaking up and offering myself instead of my brother? Because I'm this guarantor. And I accepted it upon myself. Okay. But then we have this next pasuk. How could I return to him and face the evil that's got my father? Why does he need that for? He said he took a personal responsibility. That's why he has to offer himself instead of Binyamin. Why does he then add? And he said that. He said the reason why I'm offering this is because I took a responsibility for him. So why does he then say, oh, and that's not an option for me because I'm not capable of bearing the sight of my father suffering? What does he add that for? Right? So I would say, and this was inspired this from the Netziv, who actually quotes it from someone else, that Yehuda's guarantee was miyadi tivakshenu and havi oisiv elecha, which means I will bring him back to you. If Yehuda stays in Mitzrayim,
then
he failed. If Yehuda stays in Mitzrayim and sends back Binyamin, he failed because his guarantee was miyadi tivakshenu. Okay, so now let's go back a step. We'll start with the question. Anochi erevenu miyadi tivakshenu. What does miyadi tivakshenu add? Well, so we have a very simple answer. What if something happens to Yehuda? Okay, before we get back how that plugs into Vayigash, because it's actually a little bit complicated how it plugs in. I'm not sure how it does. What if something happens to Yehuda? Is he then responsible for Binyamin? No, because he said, he's only taking responsibility in as much as he's capable of guaranteeing his safety if he's around. Right? What if Yehuda gets captured? Furthermore, in this, going back to Vayigash, he can no longer guarantee Binyamin's safety. If he's going to be a slave for his brother, now Binyamin is back with the brothers on the way back on a derech, and Yaakov is afraid he can't control what happens. So he's not living up to his guarantee by offering himself as an Eved. However, he did make a guarantee to Yaakov. So therefore, if he returns without Binyamin, and Yaakov is not necessarily going to accept that he couldn't deliver on his guarantee, he was an Einis. He won't accept it. No, but the truth is he was, because the alternative was... No, the alternative was... Okay, one second. Now here's where things get complicated. What if it's an Einis Gomer? Is Yehuda accepting something about that? It's another question. Right. I know, but it might only be if I have control. One way to read it is if I have control. And therefore, in this case, he didn't have control. The only thing he could do is give himself instead of Binyamin, which is anyways not the terms of the deal. But on the other hand, if he goes without Binyamin,
this is the better
yes.
option.
Why? Because since I'm the one who took responsibility for Binyamin, my father's going to hold me responsible, and he's going to be upset at me, and I'm going to tell him, well, listen, why the only option was me instead of Binyamin, therefore it wasn't part of the deal. It's not going to work. But it's not actually part of the arvus, okay?
So I'm going to fail either way.
Right.
So why do I choose this way? Because
right.
I can't face him.
I can't face him being the one who was responsible not to fail. And he's not going to know necessarily that I couldn't do anything about it. That's one way to look at it.
And if I
you have to think about it.
I still have failed, but at least I want to.
Right, exactly.
And if something happens on the way back, I'll have failed doubly.
Right.
But at least
I can't go back. Right. I can't. Being the one who took the guarantee, I can't be facing exactly. So two things go together. So then, what's interesting is, so if is a way of saying, I take responsibility for everything, then it becomes very interesting that the exact thing that happened maybe is actually not included. And this Eiravain is not as strong as it would seem, but yet Yehuda nonetheless did something. So okay, we're not sure what to make of it.
If you're right that means absolutely no excuses, even.
Well, no, but no excuses.
Even Einis Gomer.
Right.
And so I'm guaranteed in this case in.
No, so even in Einis Gomer, but even in Einis Gomer, I must choose to do Miyadi Tevakshenu and Avi Yosef Elecho. In this case, he couldn't do that anyway, so he failed regardless.
Because there's no way he could.
Right. The terms of the deal were that no matter what, I'm going to do Miyadi Tevakshenu and Avi Yosef Elecho, right? So then we have this Eiravim, which didn't actually work. I'm saying that's the point, that if I'm trying to bring out one thing. I mean, whatever, we have to figure out Pshat in the Pasuk. But if it means a way of saying it's ironclad, then it becomes extra notable that it actually wasn't as ironclad as everyone said it was, because he ended up saving Binyamin due to the fact that he made this pledge, but although it wasn't actually under the terms of the guarantee.
Well, it was, because he did bring him back.
No, but it wasn't. No, I'm saying it wasn't the guarantee itself. Wasn't in and of itself obligate him to bring him back, or to do. Well, you mean to what he actually did? He actually brought him back. You mean? Yeah, right. He actually brought him back. Right.
If he relied on this guarantee, it's inherently faulty because he could default if this is not his going.
Exactly, and he almost did in the case, except he just couldn't face the problem. Okay.
Well, he said that.
Right.
And therefore he was willing to, and therefore
it all worked out, and he actually fulfilled it, right? So now, why is it so interesting? Because this business of Eiravins that we'll get to this soon, okay? We'll get back to the Eiravins in a minute.
What would have happened?
Huh?
If they wouldn't have fought that hard?
Who?
If Yehuda wouldn't fight so hard for Binyamin, what would have happened?
Oh, I don't know.
Would Joseph keep him and then go up himself?
I don't know. What, he just wants Binyamin? That's one way to read it, right? I don't think we ever worked that out. We always had that question. What was Yosef's plan A? Right? V'lo yachal Yosef lehis apek. He couldn't take it anymore. So okay. But what was he planning on doing? Yeah.
planning on giving him back?
Could be he's planning on saving Binyamin from that evil family.
On calling his father, or not on calling
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
But then again, if he had any other plan than to give him back to Yehuda, the fact that Yehuda fought...
Right, change something. Yes. Yeah, the fact that Yehuda fought, exactly. And the Yehuda went beyond the Eravon according to this reading, perhaps, right. Okay, another way to read it, this Kol Hayamim, and this has to do with what we were talking about before, is that we contrast it with Ruvain. Because Ruvain said Shnei Banai Thomas, and we spoke about this then. We said the following in brief, I'll just review it in brief, that after the sale of Yosef, the pasuk says, Vahibei Sahibei Yehuda Me'es Echav, Yehuda went down, he left his family. And he suffered the loss of 2 of his children, which I think Chazal connect this explicitly, but anyways, we did that his 2 children died because he was involved in the loss of Yosef to his own father. So as a punishment, he lost 2 of his own children. So Reuven is saying, I'm guaranteeing Binyamin, and if I don't return him, the same thing will happen to me, as happened to Yehuda, who was culpable for the sale of Yosef. So that's Shnei Banai Thomas. So here Yehuda, who already had a tkufa where he left his family, right? But also I'm talking about something else. That he was Vayer Yehuda Me'es Echav, and he was ben a zifer from his father. He was separate from his family for a tkufa, but now he's united with them. And now he's saying, look, if I do the same, so to speak, if I don't take care of Binyamin, then mechatasil avi kol hayamim, as opposed to my short-lived tkufa that I was living in Chet, now it's going to be permanent. So that might explain the kol hayamim. Okay, now once we're referencing that story, let's talk about Yehuda and his experience with Eravines. Yehuda's not very good at honoring his Eravin. Right? Because in that story, Yehuda gave an Eravin to Tamar, and he didn't redeem it. Couldn't find her.
Yeah.
So what's this business with Yehuda offering guarantees? And another thing is, in Shmuel Aleph, Perek Yud Zayin, I think it's Perek Yud Zayin, we have the story of the little David going to visit his brothers. Right, and that's when he becomes king. And we discussed this at the beginning of Vayeshev, all the parallels of the father sending the little boy to the other ones. And he's supposed to become king. Yosef is supposed to become king, but he didn't quite work out. And there the pasuk says that David was told, as arubasam tikach. Take the aruba, whatever that means. But the Medrash connects that with the Eravin of this pasuk, of the pasuk we're learning tonight, that Yehuda said, I am the guarantee to Binyamin. So the guarantee to Binyamin said Yishai to David, go deliver on that guarantee and go save Shaul, who's facing Goliath.
What guarantee?
Okay. Anochi Ervenu. This is guarantee for the safety of Binyamin.
Oh.
So basically, we have to figure out Yehuda when he establishes his kingdom has this Eravain that he gives to Tamar, and when David becomes king, he takes the Aruba, and when Yehuda says, "I'm the Melech and I could take care of Binyamin," he brings up this Arav. So what is this? What is this whole Arvas Shmuz? It came up in other times in Yosef as well. We'll go back to this at some point. And maybe next year we'll get back to this Eravin, the significance of it. But I just wanted to point out that, okay, we're talking about whether this Eravin Taka worked, whether it didn't work, whether Yehuda was actually bound by it or delivered despite the fact that it was not included in the Eravin. And we have this whole theme of these Eravin of Yehuda that ends up not being honored. Okay, but here he did. But actually does. Yeah, I mean, even in the Tamar story, I guess eventually he got it back. I mean, yeah, you got but not the way he planned to.
Not through his own.
Right. Yeah, something like that. Yes.
Part of this point is that Yehuda is learning that he can do everything, but not because he can.
Perhaps. Okay. Right. Could be.
And same thing with
Same
thing with Yishai. Yishai sends his sons, and then he sends his younger sons take the Eravin from them. What does that mean? That you should be the guarantor? No, I'm assuming they're the guarantors, but you're going to take
Koil it.
yeah, whatever,
Yeah.
collect,
Mm-hmm.
make the records, or
Right.
be this.
Okay, I don't know. I hear. We'll see.
Actually,
We shall see.
he does it.
Okay, we'll see. So now going back to this pasuk, Anochi Aved Miyad V'Akshen, is something we spoke about numerous times. Then at the end of Vayetze, Yaakov said something very similar, and that's about the sheep of Lavan. He said, Anochi Achatena Miyadi Tevakshena, and why are you running after me? I'm so honest. Everything. I always took such good care of your sheep. And just to review, he says, all these things came back to bite, came back to haunt Yaakov. Is this pasuk about Binyamin, the risk of Binyamin being lost. And there Yaakov said, Genuv si yoim, Genuv si laila, and Yosef said, Gunav gunavti meretz ha'ivrim. And there in that pasuk he said, also Yaakov said, V'chelecha v'zecha lo shikelu. And here he says, Kasha shacholti, which is from Rachel. Rachel's child Yosef is dead, and maybe the other one is also going to die. Okay.
It's also called the sheep.
Right, it's Rachel, yes. Okay. Now, furthermore, what's going to happen dramatically at the end of Parashas Miketz and Parashas Vayigash is a redoing of the Trufim story. Because what it means is like this. There, to remind you, what happens in Parashas Vayetze is that Rachel stole the Trufim. And she did have the Trufim. And Lavan comes running after Yaakov to collect his Trufim. And Yaakov says, I'm so honest. Why do you think I have your Trufim? I never did anything wrong. Now, but really he did have the Trufim, or rather the Trufim were in the possession of his household, because Rachel did steal the Trufim, but Yaakov didn't even dream they stole the Trufim. So now that's why Yaakov, in all his remonstrations of him being so perfectly innocent, actually is setting the stage for disaster, because everything he says has something fundamentally untrue about it, because his whole point is, no, I'm perfect, but he's not perfect. Lavan does have a basis for suspecting something. He's right. Lavan is right. He has the Trufim. So the problem is Rachel. Is that what we said? The problem is Rachel? Yeah. Right. So Yaakov mitzidoi can't even fathom such a thing. While Rachel does believe in this, and then the Rachel aspect, let's call it, puts the lie to everything that Yaakov is saying. In other words, Yaakov is representing himself in a certain way, which truly that's the way he was, but that's not the way Rachel was, clearly, because she took the Trufim. Okay, whatever that all means. But therefore, everything Yaakov says is really, in a certain sense, not true yet, or has something that has to be worked out. And therefore, there's the whole Yosef story and lots more. So, lots of problems.
He takes are in Rachel's children.
All the
risks that he takes are in Rachel's children. Yosef is lost, and Binyamin is at risk.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he also references Shimon, to be fair.
Yes, but Shimon wasn't
in the last parak. So Shimon ain't Nenu. But yeah, the risks, so the real problems are with Rachel's children. And so what we have over here, so back to the Gavia. So then Yaakov pronounced the one who has the Trufim must die, and Rachel died. And then at the end of the parasha, we find this also a magical tool in the possession of Binyamin. And the Medrash says, the brother said to him, you're the Ganav, the son of a Ganav. Your mother stole, you're also a Ganav. And he's supposed to die. They offered, whoever you find it, they offered the same thing. They offered that whoever you find it with will die. And Yosef says, no, he's going to be my Eved. And then we try to get it downgraded from someone else being his Eved instead of him. But this is a redoing of the Genevas HaGavia, the Genevas HaTrufim, which ended in death, and really should have ended it only in Avdus, as we discussed, and so on. And Yosef himself, are they killing him, or is he only an Eved? They think that he has to die originally, and just like Yaakov thought that Rachel has to die. But really, Yosef didn't have to die. He just had to be an Eved and learn how to be a king. We don't have to review that. We'll probably get back to that.
We decided to sell him.
Right. And downgrade it from death to
maybe
Eved.
Learning the
What? what? To do that, don't kill, but make him sell him to slavery. Okay, very interesting. Right. So the point I wanted to say, over here was in this pasuk, by Yehuda redoing what Yaakov did, he's basically he's going to fix. He's the ruler now. He's making himself the ruler of the family. Now he's sort of taking over Yaakov's position, and he's making something happen even against Yaakov's will, because he's the new ruler. From now on, Yaakov is going to be less active. I mean, you could say it started earlier, certainly, but Yehuda here is redoing. And by redoing Yaakov's action and making it done right, he's taking over instead of Yaakov. So he's repeating the same thing Yaakov said, which ended up in disaster, and he's going to turn it into something which this time is going to work and going to lead to the family being back together. Okay, fine. And it's interesting because we shall see as well that besides for allusions to Yaakov and the house of Lavan and Rachel, there's also allusions to Yaakov with Esav. So as we'll soon see, and it's as if like Yehuda is like redoing or reworking all of Yaakov's issues, all of Yaakov's problems. Okay, we'll see that in the next pasuk. So the next pasuk, Yehuda brings up another issue that we could have been back twice had we not delayed. It was very strange. What does this have to do with anything? Why is that? Why is this an interesting argument? Why is this compelling? So I think that you have to understand the following. Yaakov didn't say, the story doesn't go that Yaakov said, don't go. And you said, we'll go. No. Yaakov said, no. We have a problem. And Reuben said, okay, I'll take responsibility. And Yaakov said, no. And then they needed food again. And Yaakov said, okay, we have to go. And then they said, okay, but the Bilam has to come with us. And then Yaakov said, no, not going to work. So there's a lot of schlepping going on. There's a lot of hismamos. So Yehuda's telling Yaakov like this. He's telling him all this delaying is not without a cost. Because there's the opportunity cost of what we could have achieved even more had we not delayed. So in other words, Yaakov till now, it's not a yes, it hasn't been a binary question, B'chal. So Yehuda can't just argue that we should go. Because then Yaakov will say, yeah, I don't know, that's happened already twice. Taka twice. Zeh pamoyim. Taka happened twice that there was a conversation. Yeah, go, no go. What about him? So Yehuda is saying we can't keep on doing this endlessly, even if we'll eventually capitulate, because all this delaying itself is costing us. And by saying this, Yehuda is clinching the deal and saying, if we have to do this, then we have to do it with alacrity. And indeed, the next pasuk, Yaakov responds. He doesn't just respond by saying, okay, what can I do? He actually he takes charge and he says, let's do this right. He stops being mismamea. But till now, Yaakov was causing things to drag out, and Yehuda has to put a stop to that and argue that that itself comes with a cost. Okay. Now, zeh pamoyim. Where do we have this expression? Esav said about Yaakov. It's the only other time we have this expression in Tanakh. Yaakov zeh pamoyim. Okay, and then the next pasuk, Yaakov says, "Imkin ephoi zaysasu," and the Medrash says that Yaakov said, "Oh, maybe this is happening because my father was vayecher ad Yitzchak harada gadol ad ma'od," and he said, "Mi ephoi hu ad tzayid." And now what does Yaakov do? He sends a mincha, like he gave to Esav, except there's a big difference that here he takes ma'at, and there it was yeshli rav, it was a huge mincha. Okay, it's maybe a significant difference, but here we have an Esav. So with Yaakov's two big struggles of Yaakov and with Rachel and Beis Lavan, and Yaakov against Esav are here being brought up again. And, right, all his fights, all his struggles, all his difficulties, all his challenges, which suggests, and we have to understand this better, but suggests that like here, Yaakov's life is now reaching its conclusion when everything's going to be resolved. And the family's going to be back together, and everything's going to be shalom. That's only going to happen by working through the various, let's say, the negative aspects of Yaakov's career. So one of those are the Trofim and Rachel, and the other one is Yaakov vis-a-vis Esav. So those are two things that are coming together in Yehuda's speech, who Yehuda is now the one who's taking over Yaakov, and he's going to be the one who's Yehuda Shalach Lefanav. Yehuda's going to be the leader after him. But in order for that to happen, we need Yehuda to redo Yaakov's challenges and now do them in the right way. Okay, we'll leave it at that. That's our decent haskalah, I think.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
I have
I see.
Short little thing here.
Okay.